With this Tucson model, Hyundai has got serious about the growing Qashqai-class family crossover segment, delivering pretty much everything buyers are looking for in this kind of car in one smartly styled, reasonably spacious package. We're told it'll change the way you drive. It'll certainly change this Korean brand's fortunes in this sector.
In an era where nearly a quarter of all European car buyers are looking at something from the crossover class, mainstream brands need to take this segment very seriously. Hyundai is doing just that with this car, the Tucson. This Korean maker has done well on this continent with SUVs in the last couple of decades, selling over 1.2 million of them. Some of those orders accounted for by a first-generation Tucson model that went on sale between 2004 and 2009. A Qashqai-like crossover, though, is a subtly different thing from a RAV4-style compact SUV. It's more stylish to look at, better to drive, and more affordable, both to buy and to run. Hyundai has far less experience of producing cars of that kind, but made a start in this segment back in 2010 with this car's predecessor, the iX35. That model actually sold very well for the company in the family crossover segment, quickly accounting for over 20% of the marque's total sales. It was always, though, a car that you bought in this sector if you couldn't quite afford a Qashqai. And these days, Hyundai's ambitions are a bit more far-reaching than that. Hence the replacement of the iX35 by this far more stylish second-generation Tucson model in the summer of 2015. A family-sized crossover that makes a move up-market and aims to offer the perfect stepping stone towards the brand's smartly proportioned Santa Fe 7-seat SUV. Compared to its predecessors in this segment, this Tucson offers higher quality, extra technology, greater standards of safety and more space. And we're promised sharper driving dynamics too. Mind you, it's priced to reflect that level of prowess. Hyundai has long abandoned its bargain basement beginnings. Can what's on offer here justify that and offer a genuine alternative to established players from Nissan, Skoda and Peugeot in this sector? Time to find out. You won't be buying a family crossover of this kind, prioritising an overtly sporting driving experience, but you probably will be hoping it'll handle rather more responsively than a RAV4 or Honda CR-V style compact SUV would do. And this Tucson meets those expectations without getting quite as close to family hatchback driving dynamics as, say, a rival Nissan Qashqai does. Still, it's a big improvement on its predecessor in this class. And if you are coming to this Hyundai fresh from a spell in something more conventional from the Focus or Astra sector, you'll find that very little acclimatization will be necessary. The Korean brand has correctly anticipated that ride comfort will be of more importance to likely buyers than the kind of firmer setup that would deliver a sharper feel through the bends. As a result, this is one of the better riding contenders in the segment. The rear multi-link suspension fairly easily shrugging off potholes and minor tarmac imperfections. Thanks in part to a huge 48% improvement in torsional rigidity, the soft damping doesn't deliver roly-poly body roll. So when you're on a twisting secondary route running late for school or the station or ballet classes, delete as appropriate, you shouldn't leave your second row occupants feeling too queasy. If you do feel the need to drive in this way, then you'll find that there's actually quite a lot of traction on offer. An ATCC Advanced Traction Cornering Control System uses torque vectoring technology to lightly brake the inner wheel at speed through tight bends, transferring torque to the outside front wheel that can better use it. Unfortunately, the rather vague electric power steering doesn't really incentivize you to exploit these limits. You can tell that Hyundai is aware of this, for the brand has equipped most models with a flex steer system that allows you to alter steering weight. But weight isn't the same thing as feel, and until the Korean brand engineers understand that, this Tucson won't offer any particular attraction to those who really value driving enjoyment. As for engines, well, it's tempting for low mileage users to take the price saving that comes with the entry-level petrol unit, a 1.6 litre GDI power plant that puts out 132 PS. Hyundai claims this rather aging engine to be a flexible one, but with just 161 Nm of pulling power, it really doesn't feel like that out on the road, especially when you're trying to overtake something. Better then to try and opt for the power plant that far more buyers will want, the 1.7 litre CRDI diesel. On paper, this less powerful 116 PS variant is slower than its petrol counterpart, taking 13.7 seconds rather than 11.5 seconds to get from rest to 62 miles an hour, and maxing out at 109 miles an hour rather than 113 miles an hour. In practice though, the base diesel unit is a much more flexible performer, offering nearly 70% more torque. If you like the idea of that, but want reasonable power as well as flexibility, then you're going to want to look at the kind of 2 litre CRDI Tucson that you're going to need to go for if you want the diesel version of this car fitted out with 4-wheel drive. This engine comes in 2 states of tune, the base 136 PS version delivering a very reasonable 373 Nm of torque that makes it feel noticeably more eager through the rev range than the smaller diesel would be. That sees it manage 62 miles an hour from rest in 10.6 seconds en route to 116 miles per hour in 2-wheel drive form, though it'll be a fraction slower than that if you took the box for 4-wheel drive. The higher output 185 PS unit improves these figures to 9.9 seconds and 125 miles an hour. The other reason potential Tucson diesel buyers might want to stretch to the 2 litre model is to give themselves the option of automatic transmission, but it's worth mentioning that there's an efficiency penalty in going that route. With the industry's latest dual-clutch auto transmission systems, that doesn't have to be the case, but Hyundai chose to launch this Tucson with that technology limited to the most powerful petrol version of this car, the 1.6 TGDI variant we're trying here. This 177 PS version comes only with 4-wheel drive and can be ordered in either manual or automatic form, the Auto box featuring a sport mode. Either way, 62 miles an hour from rest takes a fraction over 9 seconds en route to around 125 miles an hour, and in this guise your Tucson will feel a little lighter on its feet through the bends thanks to curb weight reduction of around 80 kilograms over the 4-wheel drive diesel model. I've been mentioning 4-wheel drive, and it's time to talk a little more about the setup on offer here. For all the brochure bragging, this Tucson is, like its contemporaries, little more than a family hatchback in a pair of hiking boots, offering lifestyle looks without any of the compromises you won't want to make if you never go off-road. Still, the all-wheel traction option's well worth considering with this car, and as usual on crossovers, buyers here are provided with a part-time system. The drive layout, one of those that keeps you in front-wheel drive most of the time. It can, though, instantly react to a loss of traction and send up to 50% of drive to the rear wheels when necessary. Leave the system alone and it'll make all the decisions for you, but if you do want to intervene, you can, at speeds below 25 miles an hour, put it in a lock mode with 50% of power going to either end of the car, should you end up with your Tucson somewhere you really shouldn't have ventured in the first place. You'd want to try and avoid that kind of scenario though, for ground clearance is limited to 172 millimeters. That's 18 millimeters lower than a rival Renault Qashqai, for example. As a result, the off-road stats, an approach angle of 17.2 degrees, a departure angle of 23.9 degrees, and a ramp breakover angle of 18.6 degrees are all predictably modest, though downhill brake control is provided to ease you down slippery slopes. We can't imagine too many potential owners will care very much though. Yes, you'll need to leave the Serengeti to Ranulph Fiennes, but curbs can be mounted and muddy car parks traversed with impunity. More than anything else, it's probably the design of this Tucson that will do most to interest crossover buyers. The styling's been clearly inspired by the brand's larger and very good-looking Santa Fe SUV, and is a world away from the rather apologetic look of the old iX35 model this car replaced. Flowing surfaces, bold proportions and sharp lines certainly make it look one of the most attractive cars in this class. Especially here at the front, where the most recent version of the brand's trademark hexagonal grille connects headlamps that on top models like this one feature LED technology. Further down, a wing-shaped horizontal bar aims to reference this car's wide track and incorporates LED daytime running lights. And in profile, well, where the original Tucson model of 2004 had a boxy SUV look, this modern version is far more a product of crossover consumerism, looking gym-toned and Qashqai-like. The designers have moved this A-pillar back to visually disconnect it from the long bonnet, thus creating a sleeker shape. And the way the roof falls away towards the rear combines with this rising window line and these prominent side creases to create an athletic feel. The wheel arches are emphasised in the way you'd expect them to be on this class of car, while the Z-style character lines below the C-pillar create a more powerful stance. The rear styling, although neat, isn't quite as arresting, featuring combination lamps and reflectors stretched to the body edges and strong horizontal lines that flow from the wheel arches. There's a smart roof spoiler just below this shark fin antenna, and plusher models get chrome twin exhaust and this rear skid plate as a finishing touch. Take a seat behind the wheel and you get the commanding view over the traffic that crossover drivers like so much, in a cabin that's smart and logically laid out. You wouldn't say the design here was particularly interesting, but if you come to it familiar with the rather haphazard layout of the old iX35 model, you'll find that a huge improvement. Quality has taken a big step forward, or at least it has in a plush version like this one. Entry-level trim is a bit Spartan. You don't even get a leather-covered steering wheel, and rather meanly, Hyundai makes you miss out on some of these smart, soft-touch plastics that adorn the dash and the doors across the rest of the range. Still, provided you can at least stretch to a mainstream model, the ambiance is good, and good enough to justify the prices being asked, particularly if you've got a cabin trimmed in leather, as we have here. True, the splashes of metallic brightwork you'll find around the dash may clearly be painted plastic, but they've been carefully chosen, and fit and finish from the Czech factory is excellent, to the point where, to be honest, the soft touch textures on offer around the dash show a lot of better established brands how it should be done. You don't even get these shiny steering column stalks that usually betray Hyundai's budget brand origins. And in the centre of the fascia, there's the classy excellence of the 8-inch colour dash touchscreen that's your interface for controlling satellite navigation, a 6-speaker DAB stereo and an integrated rear view camera. The setup works 3 times more quickly than it did on the old iX35 model, and includes a package of TomTom Live services that alert you to speed cameras, update you on the weather and provide accurate information on traffic jams and roadworks, while delivering a trustworthy estimated time of arrival. Through the multifunction reach and rake adjustable wheel, you view 2 clearly presented dials flanking a colour centre information display showing trip computer readouts and a compass. Nothing wrong here. Not quite so good though is all-round visibility. True, thanks to better placement of this A-pillar, front 3/4 vision at junctions is certainly better than it was in the old iX35, but the view out of the back is restricted, there's no two ways about it. Enough to make rear parking sensors almost essential, which is probably why Hyundai feels the need to provide them as standard, providing you avoid entry-level trim. Cabin practicality is reasonable, with bottle holders in the door pockets, a compartment for your sunglasses, and this storage compartment under the ventilation controls, which contains rather over-prominently presented USB, aux-in and 12-volt sockets. You also get a spacious glove box, this central storage bin with a lift-out top tray, and this pair of cup holders too, although small bottles placed in them will get in the way of your route to the gear lever. Time to move to the rear. Fortunately, this rearward sloping roof doesn't really impede access. It's aided by these wide opening doors. Take a seat back here and there's no doubt that this is the most spacious cabin Hyundai has so far provided in this class. Mind you, it still can't be said to be particularly comfortable for 3 adults over longer trips. That's partly due to this raised centre seat cushion, but a 3rd child won't mind that. And when the middle position isn't being used, then there's the opportunity to use this armrest with its integrated pair of cup holders. Rear passengers will also appreciate the provision of their own air vents and the seat heating that you get on top models. And also the fact that the seatbacks recline for greater comfort on longer journeys. They might be rather less keen on the rather small side windows, but lack of light's not an issue if you can stretch to a top model like this one, fitted with this vast panoramic tilting sliding glass roof. And out back, well, raise the tailgate. It can be electrically powered if you go for a top model like this one. And a 513 litre boot is revealed, although that falls to 488 litres with the full-size spare wheel that's provided above entry-level trim and uses up what would be a useful area below the boot floor. We'd want it though. Overall though, we're talking about a very reasonable amount of space here, about the same amount as you find in a rival Peugeot 3008, but about 10% more than you get in a Renault Kadjar, about 15% more than you get in a Qashqai, and at least 20% more than you get in a Skoda Yeti or a Ford Kuga. In terms of the weight of the items you can carry, Hyundai quotes a payload of 706 kilograms for 2-wheel drive models and up to 663 kilograms for 4-wheel drive variants. Practical touches include tie-down points, a bag hook and 12-volt socket, plus useful concealed side compartments for valuables. Pushing forward the 60/40 split folding backrest doesn't free up quite as much space as you might be expecting it to, possibly because these seats don't fold completely flat. Most rivals offer slightly more than the 1,503 litre total here, or 1,478 litres with a spare wheel, but it should prove quite sufficient for the needs of most likely buyers, who can specify an optional boot liner and fitments like a dog guard to achieve their required levels of practicality. Tucson pricing sits in the £19,000 to £30,000 bracket. In other words, exactly what you pay for most other family-sized crossover models of this kind. For many buyers, the real range starting point will be at around £20,000, given the premium of just over £1,600 that's necessary to progress from the entry-level 1.6 litre GDI 132 PS petrol unit to the volume 1.7 litre CRDI 116 PS diesel that most will want. Now, if it's the diesel you need and you're prepared to stretch to mid-range SE nav trim, then you'll have the option of finding a further £1,400 to upgrade yourself to the Pokia 2 litre CRDI 136 PS diesel. It's this 2 litre unit that you have to have if you want your diesel Tucson with 4-wheel drive. All-wheel drive traction offered at a £1,600 premium. Provided your budget can stretch to the necessary figure of just over £25,000, that 2 litre diesel 4-wheel drive package may well appeal. And it's a combination that you have to have if you want your Tucson fitted with the automatic gearbox option that's offered at a £1,350 premium over manual transmission. Tucson 2 litre CRDI 4-wheel drive buyers also get the option of the Pokia 185 PS version of the power plant. That's available at a premium of around £900 over the lesser engine. Not everyone likes diesel though, so it's worth mentioning that if you can stretch to one of the top premium trim levels and a budget of between £27,000 and £30,000, then you'll get the option of Hyundai's 1.6 litre TGDI 177 PS petrol unit, which is what we've been trying here. This only comes mated to 4-wheel drive, but there are manual or automatic gearbox options. Now, that kind of pricing makes this Tucson a more effective stepping stone towards the brand's larger Santa Fe SUV than this car's predecessor, the old iX35 model, ever was. For reference, the Santa Fe is priced from just over £31,000 in its most equivalent 5-seat diesel 4-wheel drive form. More relevant for most buyers, though, will be how this car stacks up against comparable family-sized crossovers in the Qashqai class. We'll start with the Qashqai because, well, that's the product people tend to think of first when it comes to this kind of car. Hyundai's marketeers certainly seem to have done that when they decided what they should ask for this Tucson, because in most instances the cars seem to be very closely priced indeed. Perhaps the Qashqai's main drawback is the smaller boot you get with all the seats in use, a problem you can partly solve by opting for its development stablemate, the Renault Kadjar. With the Renault, luggage capacity is more comparable to what you get here, and the Kadjar is slightly cheaper than a Tucson at the bottom of the range, and even more affordable in pokier diesel or four-wheel drive guises. Having recently driven both products back to back though, we can't help feeling that the Hyundai's higher build quality makes it a better long-term bet. But let's get beyond Qashqais and Qashqai clones and have a look at how this vehicle stacks up in the wider family crossover sector. Some models in this segment aim to try and offer many of the virtues you get in an expensive, fully fledged compact SUV like Toyota's RAV4 or Honda's CR-V. I'm thinking here of cars like Ford's Kuga, Mazda's CX-5 and Volkswagen's Tiguan. Contenders that will typically cost around £2,500 or so more than the equivalent Tucson. Elsewhere in the class though, the vehicles on offer set their sights a little lower. This Honda typifies an approach that merely sets out to offer buyers a little more attitude than they get from a conventional family hatch, and a little more space than they'd find in an equivalent compact crossover. In this case, that would be Hyundai's smaller, Super Mini-based i20 Active model, which represents the brand in the smaller Nissan Juke, Renault Captur segment of the market, targeting lifestyle buyers who don't need quite as much space and have a £16,000 to £18,000 budget. So, apart from the Qashqai, what else does compete directly against this Tucson? Well, the most obvious rival is the car that shares this one's underpinnings and engine wear, Kia's Sportage. Inevitably, the two Korean crossovers are priced very closely, so your choice between the pair will be very much down to personal preference. Most will feel that both products make a more elegant driveway statement than the other key contender in this class, Peugeot's 3008, an efficient and practical but now rather aging contender in this segment. Otherwise, those in search of rivals to this car will probably find themselves looking at crossover models that try to straddle the compact and family sections of this segment. Or to put it another way, they try to be a Duke and a Qashqai all rolled into one. Contenders of this kind are usually based on Super Mini underpinnings, so will typically offer you slightly less boot space than you get in this Hyundai. Some of the models in question, Honda's HR-V and the comparable Cooper versions of Mini's Countryman, for example, cost much the same as an equivalent Tucson. Others, Skoda's Yeti, Mitsubishi's ASX and Suzuki's SX4 S-Cross, for instance, can save you anywhere between £1,000 and £3,000, depending on the variant you're looking at. If, having considered all of this, you conclude that the smart styling, the strong build quality and spacious cabin of this Hyundai gives it an edge on the opposition and justifies the required asking prices, then you're going to need to know just how generous the South Korean brand has been when it comes to the specification. Well, let's see. Entry-level S variants come with most of what you'd expect, so that means 16-inch alloy wheels, LED daytime running lights, tinted glass, all-round electric windows, powered heated mirrors and auto dusk sensing headlamps that also have a follow me home feature that lights the way to your front door at night. Inside there's air conditioning, USB, aux-in and Bluetooth phone connectivity, a trip computer, driver's seat height adjustment, a reclining rear bench and a decent quality 6-speaker DAB stereo that you can also control via buttons on the multifunction steering wheel. Most, though, will want to find the £1,800 premium necessary to graduate up to mid-range SE trim. At this level, you get quite a lot more. A smarter look outside, courtesy of larger 17-inch alloy wheels, front fog lights, roof rails and a front skid plate. And a smarter look within too, thanks to leather for the steering wheel and gear knob, silver door handles and soft-touch plastics for the dash and the doors. Other SE-grade niceties include power folding mirrors, heated front seats, climate control, a cooled glove box, a luggage net for the boot and the proper full-size spare wheel we think you really ought to have in this class of car. In addition, to make driving easier, this level also gives you cruise control, rear parking sensors, a neat automatic defogging system for the windscreen and the flex steer system that allows you to alter steering weight to suit your mood. All Tucson SE buyers will be offered the option of finding £800 more to upgrade themselves to SE Nav status and get the 8-inch coloured dash touchscreen with its satellite navigation system, TomTom Live services package and integrated rear view camera. With certain engines, Hyundai also throws in a rear skid plate and a chromed exhaust finisher to encourage you to tick this box, while another incentive to do so lies in the fact that availability of the 2-litre diesel engines many will want only starts from SE Nav trim upwards. Beyond this level in the range lie the top premium models that include leather seats that are power adjustable in the front and also heated in the back, plus 19-inch wheels, privacy glass, auto wipers and an auto dimming rear view mirror with a compass. Premium SE variants like this one add to that tally with LED headlamps, keyless smart entry, an electric tailgate, ventilated seats that cool you in summer and a huge panoramic glass roof with an electric tilt and slide function. Automatic versions also get a smart park assist system that steers you into spaces. On to key options. You might want the metallic or pearl paint finishes, and side steps, door entry guards and chromed mirror coverings might further embellish the look of your Tucson. Practicalities include boot liners, dog guards and the usual floor mats and mud flaps. Plus there are tow bar options and the expected roof carrying systems for bikes, skis and snowboards. On to safety features. Like other Hyundais, this one achieved a full 5-star Euro NCAP safety rating, helped by a tough, rigid body cell construction and a pretty complete roster of safety provision. All models get twin front, side and curtain airbags, plus Hyundai's VSM, Vehicle Stability Management System, that combines ESC stability control with the electric power steering system to help keep this vehicle under control in emergency manoeuvres. There's ABS braking too, of course, including brake assist to help an emergency stop, so it'll be advertised to following motorists by automatically activating hazard lights. Isofix child seat fastenings, tyre pressure monitoring, a pedestrian-friendly active bonnet and hill start assist control to stop you from drifting backwards on uphill junctions are all additional features that make the team sheet. Off-road, a downhill brake control setup is on hand to ease you down slippery slopes. And if you're towing, a trailer stability control system eliminates trailer sway. Avoid entry-level trim and you get 2 further key features. Static cornering lights that at night project a beam of light in the direction you want to travel, and the lane departure warning system that stops dozy drivers who might be veering out of their lanes on the highway, not only warning them but actively steering them back into the lane if necessary. If you've an SE Nav variant with the 8-inch colour touchscreen, you also get a speed limit information system that uses a front camera and information from the sat-nav to picture road signs as you pass them and display them for you on the dash. Top premium models like this one go even further with 3 other electronic systems. There's a blind spot detection setup to stop you from dangerously pulling out to overtake at speed, and a rear cross traffic alert system that'll warn you of oncoming traffic if you're reversing out of a space. The key feature though is one we'd ideally like to see fitted across the range, Hyundai's AEB, autonomous emergency braking setup. This works between 44 miles an hour and 112 miles an hour to constantly scan the road ahead of you for accident hazards. If one's detected, you'll be warned. If you don't respond or you aren't able to, the brakes will automatically be applied to decrease the severity of any resulting accident. All the mainstream engines in this Tucson lineup are slightly more clean and frugal than they were in the old iX35 range, thanks to the shift to the Euro 6 emissions standard. The 1.6-litre GDI petrol unit, the 1.7-litre diesel and the 2-wheel drive 2-litre diesel model all use Hyundai's Blue Drive efficiency package that features things like low rolling resistance tyres, an alternator management system and, most importantly, an ISG integrated stop-and-go stop-start setup that'll cut the engine when you don't need it, stuck in traffic or waiting at the lights. This technology can't produce the kind of efficiency results you get in a rival Nissan Qashqai or Renault Kadjar because this Tucson is at least 200 kilograms heavier than both of those competitors. Still, the entry-level 1.7-litre CRDI diesel variant probably does enough to satisfy most likely buyers, returning 61.4 miles per gallon on the combined cycle and 119 grams per kilometre of CO2. There's not too much of a penalty in opting for the larger 2-litre CRDI unit. Mated to two-wheel drive, it delivers 58.9 miles per gallon and 127 grams per kilometre of CO2. Add in 4-wheel drive though, and those figures fall to 54.3 miles per gallon and 139 grams per kilometre. Go further and get the 2-litre 4-wheel drive model and you're looking at 47.9 miles per gallon and 154 grams per kilometre. If the 2-litre diesel engine is the one you have in mind, you might well want to consider the option of automatic transmission. And if so, you'll need to bear in mind the way that this will hit your running costs by about 10%. Hyundai has developed a much more sophisticated 7-speed DC-2 dual-clutch automatic gearbox that solves this problem. But unfortunately, the brand can currently only offer this technology with the most modern engine in the Tucson lineup, the 1.6 TGDI turbo petrol unit that we're trying here, which is a pity because it makes quite a difference. In fact, the returns you get from this engine with a manual gearbox, 37.2 miles per gallon on the combined cycle and 177 grams per kilometre of CO2, are actually slightly improved if you pair it to the DCT auto gearbox that I'm trying with this car. What else do you need to know? Well, let's talk warranties. Most cars in this class come only with an unimpressive 3-year, 60,000 mile deal. With this Tucson, in contrast, a much more complete peace of mind package comes as standard, thanks to one of the best customer assurance plans in the industry. The 5-year triple care warranty includes 5 years of mechanical cover with no mileage limit, annual vehicle health checks and roadside assistance. The rival Kia Sportage offers an apparently even better 7-year package, but bear in mind that that comes with a 1,000 mile limit, only covers the engine and gearbox and can't offer the same kind of breakdown cover. That decent warranty will help residual values, which are creeping ever closer to those of mainstream brands as the market wakes up to just how far this Korean brand has come with product quality. Currently, independent experts reckon you can expect about 42% of your original purchase price back after the usual 3-year ownership period, and that's an 11% improvement on the old iX35 model that this Tucson replaced. There are also 2-, 3- and 5-year fixed price servicing plans to help keep your maintenance outlay down. Finally, insurance groupings. If you're looking at one of the CRDI diesel models, you'll find the 1.7-litre variants rated between groups 13E and 16E, while the 136 PS 2-litre unit is rated at between groups 19E and 22E. Go for the Pokia 185 PS version of this engine and you're looking at a rating of between group 22E and 25E. Petrol people, meanwhile, will find the base 1.6-litre GDI model rated at group 15E or 16E, and this top 1.6T GDI turbo model rated at group 19E. Normally, the higher rating in each case would apply to top trim levels, but in this case, because the plush premium models include the effective AEB autonomous emergency braking system, they tend to attract the lower rating I've quoted for each engine. Like all crossovers, this one is going to look appealing in the showroom, blending the style of an SUV, the sensible practicality of a 5-seater mini MPV and the affordability of a family hatchback into one practical, lifestyle-orientated package. With this Tucson, Hyundai has interpreted this formula in a way that the mass market will like, and at last has given itself a thoroughly credible Qashqai competitor. It's nicely built, smart to look at, efficient to run, and quite capable in 4-wheel drive form of getting almost anywhere an ordinary driver might want to go. No, it's not perfect. A class-leading family hatch would offer slightly sharper handling and better all-round visibility, but these aren't deal-breaking issues. More significant will be the value proposition and lengthy warranty that should combine with this car's other attributes to attract plenty of conquest buyers to this growing South Korean brand. Which is important, for this is a model that the company simply had to get right, given that, if successful, it may well account for almost a quarter of the marque's total sales. We reckon it's a step in the right direction, and very much a Hyundai of the modern era, which makes it a very competitive car indeed.